And I admire you very much, and you're really old. I'm also wondering, I'm wondering, beyond, you're such a key figure to Malaysia. So beyond your tenure, what do you think is the future trajectory for Malaysia? Because this kind of reform will take a very long time. So how do you think we will go forward in the future?
Yeah. Well, what happens to Malaysia in the future depends very much on you, on your understanding of the situation. The fact is that the Malays are very far behind the Chinese. Chinese are very good. I mean, that Chinese backed by 4,000 years civilization.
But the affirmative action policy is not helping them.
Let me answer first. To say it is not helping them is not correct. Many are helped and many have succeeded. For example, before, when you give scholarship, you give to only the top students. We decided to give to number 2, number 3, number 4, and they have performed. Today, for example, in the medical profession, when we started, there were only 2% of the doctors in Malaysia who were Malays. Now there are 40%. These are people who were considered not eligible for scholarships because they did not perform with the highest result, best result. So we gave even the people who are not the best, but who appears to be able to do things, we gave them an opportunity, and because of that, we have corrected the imbalance, at least in the medical profession. In other professions too, we have made quite a lot of correction. Not satisfactory, but at least we have made some correction. And there are now Malays who are doing quite well in business. I was talking to a man last night. He flies helicopters, and he owns a lot of helicopters, not only in Malaysia, but all over the world. He was given a chance, and he made good use of the chance. Now, what happened before was that we were giving opportunities very freely without considering their capability. I did try to give only to those who can succeed. But if they have already succeeded, then we help them. But when we help them, I was accused of cronyism. Apparently, if you don't want to be accused of cronyism, you must ensure that everybody fails. Because lots of people fail, they are not my cronies. They are not accused of being my cronies. But those who succeed are all called my cronies. So how do you correct such things when if you succeed, then you're wrong. If you fail, then you're right. That is...
It requires transparency.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
could I actually get a time check? I think our screen's up here, and we have such long lines of students. Could someone just give me the amount of time?
Now,
15 minutes. 15 is
now
great.
what we are doing, we are going to be very selective to overcome this habit of selling contracts, contracts and other opportunities given to them. We want to ensure that those who got the contract will carry out the contracts. If they don't, we're taking back the contracts. We are not going to allow them to sell licenses, contracts to others. That is to avoid what you said just now, that some people have benefited wrongly. In fact, most of the contracts given to the Malays, there were no Malays willing to buy, they had to sell to the Chinese. So it becomes worse. So now we want to ensure that if they get a contract or they get a license or whatever, they must make use of the contracts and license. And the one thing that we need to accept is that something has to be done. If you do away with affirmative action, what do you want to do? Nothing. If you do nothing, the disparity is going to be worse, and there will be tension as between races and between the rich and poor.
Thank you. Next question, please. Thank you.
Very good morning, Tun. My name is Saiful. I'm also from Malaysia. I'm a Masters of International Affairs student here in Colombia. My question to you is in regards to institutional reforms in Malaysia. I would like to echo what you said earlier. I thought it was a huge history in Malaysia, and in the last general election, Malaysia turned from a poster boy of plutocracy to a beacon of democracy overnight. I think the peaceful transition of power was applauded all over the world, and there was even an article in The Economist, I think, the following week, saying how the opposition never win election in Southeast Asia, but this man, being you, just did. And so with that come huge expectation on institutional reforms. So I would like to pick your brain on what do you think is the top three priorities in terms of institutional reforms in Malaysia, and what are the main challenges that your government is facing right now in implementing those institutional reforms? Thank you.
Well, the first thing we try to do and have done, in fact, is to give strength to the agency that is focused on corruption. We give independence to that agency, and they have access to all information needed so that they can take action against corrupt people. And at this moment, we don't find any more of those corrupt practices that was rampant during the last regime. Secondly, we believe in the rule of law. In the past, the law was bad, and it is again being abused by the government. People are charged under laws that does not relate to whatever crime they may have committed, simply because they appear not to support the government. Action was taken upon them under SOSMA and the like. And also, we find that the management of funds is very important. Malaysia actually had been quite well off. We did not have financial problem for a long time, a very long time. But now we have this terrible problem because the previous government borrowed 1 trillion ringgit. 1 trillion ringgit. In the divide by 4, you'll get the US equivalent. And to repay a loan of 1 trillion ringgit is not easy. If you pay from the taxes that you collect, then you deprive other areas from being well financed. We have to finance the operation, of course. The salaries have to be paid, and statutory payments must be paid. But what suffers is development expenditure. We have to take money from development in order to pay off our debt. And it's going to be around for almost 30 years, unless, of course, we can find some means of reducing the debt. And that we are trying to do by, of course, trying to track where the money has gone to. The money has been stolen. If they had been invested, we would have gone to the company concerned and get the money back, divest. But we don't know where the money has gone to, billions of dollars. And they are refusing to explain where they have given the money. But I think they know where the money is. But because we have to continue to pay, we have to find some of our assets and sell them in order to raise money to pay for our debt. We have been able to reduce the debt a little. Well, the ceiling is fixed by the GDP. Now, when the GDP grows, of course, the percentage comes down. The percentage of debt against the GDP comes down, and over the years, perhaps we will find that the borrowings, though very big, will come below the 55% of GDP, which is the ceiling for our borrowing. So a lot of things are being done with the institutions. We are also making sure that the police is cleaned up. We have a police commission now which will look into the performance of the police and make inquiries if necessary. A lot of things have been done, and I think you will see the result very soon. In fact, with regard to corruption, much of that has been reduced. Nobody now asks for payment over the counter in order to do a job for you.
Thank you, Tun. And personally, thank you for delivering the victory to the people in the last general election.
Thank you.